Hey there guys, today we're taking a look at Cities Skylines 2 running on the AMD Ryzen 5 5500U. Now this game is running on the TRIGKEY Speed S5 mini PC. This is rocking 16 gigabytes of RAM and that is running at 3200 megatransfers per second. That is in dual channel RAM. So we're pretty much getting the maximum bandwidth that we're gonna possibly be able to get with DDR4 RAM sticks. SODIMM memory runs at JEDEC spec, and JEDEC spec does tend to have some pretty loose timings, and their maximum clock speed is nowhere near what the maximum of what DDR4 can do on the desktop overclockable market, because XMP and things like that are an overclock. They're not the official spec. The official spec is going to be JEDEC speeds. But as you could see, the game itself is really not running that well. Now we're running at the lowest in-game graphics settings and we are using FSR, and it is FSR 1.0, which I thought was an interesting thing. I don't know why it isn't any derivative of 2.0. It seems like an odd choice to go with FSR 1, but okay. But it's that running at pretty much 50% resolution, so we're running at even lower than 720p. So even if you were to drop the resolution natively down to 720p, you're still going to get worse performance than this. So keep that in mind, because as you can see, it's not exactly great, though I think that a lot of people will find it to be pretty playable. Now, I only played the game for about 2 hours. While playing it, I felt it to be acceptable enough. I think that for a lot of the people that enjoy these types of games, this might be playable enough. You don't necessarily need high FPS for this. I know a lot of people were complaining, being like, it's insane that this game on a 4090 is running at 20 FPS, and I strongly agree with that. But it's the #1 selling game on Steam right now. That should tell you that the fan base for this type of game will play a slideshow. So I think that if this is the style of game that you like to play, you're probably going to be able to power through this. Now, obviously, again, this is early on, so as the simulation gets more intense, you might just start to run into issues there. But at least in the 2 hours that I played, I did actually find it to be pretty enjoyable. I was listening to a podcast and I was just playing the game, and after a while, I didn't even really think about the performance or anything like that. I was kind of just like getting into just learning how to play the game. I literally have only played the first game for about 20 minutes, though I do think that the tutorial system in this actually does a really good job of actually teaching you how to play the game. So that actually really impressed me. Overall, though, I'm pretty happy with how all of this actually ended up turning out. It's certainly not remarkable performance, and I'm sure you'll look at this and think, wow, this seems awful. And yeah, it is, but also it's such a unique game franchise that doesn't necessarily require a high FPS. So you could technically actually get away with playing this like this. Because if we're being real here, like ignoring this whole like idea that, oh, 30 FPS is the minimum. I mean, I even say that myself, where it's just like, I don't consider a game to be fully playable unless you're getting 30 FPS as a minimum, especially for 1% lows. But if we're being 100% real, if you grew up poor like I did, you probably have played quite a few games at 10 FPS, 15 FPS, with frame time stutters and lag and just all of these problems because you're running these games on systems that aren't necessarily powerful enough to run them super well, but it does launch, and that might just be enough for you, because that's how it was for me. I remember playing the original Star Wars Battlefront. I mean, I'm talking about the original from like the 2000s. I played that on PC at like 10 FPS. It was an absolute slideshow, but I have some fond memories of playing that game. So I think that if you're someone that has actually been wanting to play this game, it's on Game Pass, so you don't need to shell out a lot of money just to try it out. You could probably even get like $1 promotion for Game Pass still. Get that, try it out, see if you can even ignore the performance. I wouldn't bring up an FPS count or anything like that. Just completely forget about that. Just play the game and see if it actually works out well for you, because I actually found this to be enjoyable. If I was just doing a normal video where I'm just telling you like, oh, Did this meet this minimum threshold? Well, no, technically it didn't, but it's kind of the whole point of me actually sitting there and playing these games on these systems. What might on paper not necessarily be a very fun or playable experience because of the 1% lows and the averages was actually pretty enjoyable, and I think I'm going to end up playing a lot more of this game. So I think that if playing a game on this system made me want to continue to play the game, I think the system did its job. So if you're interested in playing this, again, it's on Game Pass. Or if you're the type to want to own your games, then obviously you could always just pick it up. I would personally wait for a Steam sale or something like that. Games like these will eventually just start to go on sale. There's going to be so much DLC for it later anyway, that if you could save yourself even $10 in like a few months, it might be worth the wait. But of course, Game Pass is always there. So anyways, I will catch you guys in the next one.